About 10 years ago, I first started experiencing symptoms. I had pins and needles in my tongue, I had pins and needles down the left side of my body, and then I lost feeling in my left hand. I couldn't even look at any lights. It was as if there was a hammer inside my forehead, and I thought that I was actually having a heart attack or a stroke. So I rang a friend of mine and said, I need to go to the hospital now. The doctors didn't seem particularly concerned about my symptoms, as it seemed to be a clear-cut case that I was suffering a migraine. They recommended that I came off the contraceptive pill and I took ibuprofen and drank some caffeine. So a couple of years after my first visit to the hospital, I started to train for the Madrid Marathon that I was going to run with my older brother and my father. And I fell over a couple of times when I was running. After that, I began to have blurred vision in my left eye and a constant headache. I saw the doctor, and then the doctor, because I couldn't pinpoint exactly what had started first, the blurred vision or the headache, so he seemed to be quite concerned about the fact that I may have had a brain tumour. So that was quite scary, really. I had a CAT scan, and also I had a lot of tests on my eye. I was in a waiting room in the emergency department in a chair. I was just sitting in a chair, waiting to hear my name be called, and it seemed to be taking ages. So I went to ask the nurse that was on duty. She said, "Oh, here's your report." And she gave me the report, and I just scanned through, and at the bottom it said possible diagnosis, and it said MS. And also I've got a friend from school who was diagnosed with MS when we were 17, and he was already walking with a stick. And that's my only contact and my only experience that I'd had with the illness. So I had an image of him. I just felt completely awful. I just felt horrendous. When I went to see the neurologist, I had a 10-minute consultation with him, and he didn't show me any of my test results. He didn't show me any of the scans. He just confirmed that it was a migraine with aura, and that was it. That I didn't have MS. I was utterly convinced that there was something wrong with me. I had a feeling in my leg, in my right leg, as if I had a trapped nerve, because I couldn't sleep. My anxiety was completely out of control. What I would do was go out for a run to help me with the anxiety. But then it just worsened the feeling in my leg every time I went out for a run. So I mentioned it to my friend Steve. Steve has been a friend of mine, but he's also my running partner. So I went with Steve to his friend Manolo's house. Manolo is a GP. And Manolo actually put some pins in my leg, and I couldn't feel it. And Manolo said to me, "Antonia, I think that you've got MS." And then he said, "I think that you have to go to the hospital now and have all the tests done to see if you've got MS." The neurologist told me that the MRI scan was the test that showed up everything to diagnose me with MS or not. So after the MRI scan and the blood tests, I went to a neurologist. The neurologist showed me the MRI scan. He explained that I have relapsing MS. So a period of 4 years had passed between my initial first visit to the hospital. I wanted to know how far the illness had progressed. He showed me the scars that I have, the scarring that I have on my brain. I had 5 lesions on my brain. The first line treatment didn't work for me because I was having awful infections. I put on a lot of weight. I felt really insecure about my body. It really was awful. So after I'd spoken to a friend of mine, she told me, "You have to speak to the neurologist. You have to speak to the neurologist about the symptoms, about how you're feeling," and which is something that I didn't do until about a year after I'd started my treatment. And my husband came with me to the appointment, and it was really him that was explaining to the neurologist that I wasn't feeling great. The neurologist then said to me that she was going to present my case to the pharmaceutical committee for me to change medicine. 2 weeks later, I was on holiday in the north of Spain, and I received a phone call from the secretary of the neurology department, and she told me that my petition to change my treatment had actually been approved. Since I've been taking my treatment, the quality of life has improved and increased tenfold. I went to the neurologist 2 months ago and I received some results from my most recent MRI scan, and they've told me that at the moment the illness isn't active. I feel like I've definitely taken back control of my life. I've run a marathon, I've got a new job, I've got married, and I'm completely planning for a future. The future is bright. If you need help demanding more, download tools and information below.